Welcome, welcome, welcome to a brand new episode of the Being Podcast, a safe space I've created for us to come together to share and to inspire, motivate, and today to teach us some things and for us to tweak, if we need to, the ways in which we believe, engage, innovate, navigate, and gain in every area of our lives. I am so excited. I am so excited. Oh, by the way, I'm your host, Jada, and I'm still excited because in season 3 that we are now in, I have my first guest, and I just believe that things happen the way they're supposed to happen, right? I'm not into coincidences. Things happen the way they're supposed to happen. We meet the people we need to meet for whatever the reason. I met this beautiful soul. Her name is Phyllis. She is a published author. She is a certified personal trainer. She is a integrative nutritionist. She gonna spill the details on that because your girl almost couldn't say that word. And she is really going to talk to us about our hormone health for us ladies that are over the age of 35. I thought it was 40, but I went back and looked at her bio. She said 35. So whether that is
Story
you,
behind that.
okay. Whether you are in that category or you know somebody, this is going to be an explosive episode that is going to really help us because, as I say all the time, self love and self care is not selfish. And a lot of times we overlook ourselves because we're busy taking care of everybody and everything else. But today, Phyllis is going to come in here and she's going to just give us some tidbits on how we can really start to improve our lives because what? We cannot pour from an empty cup. So, with that, welcome to the show. Welcome, Phyllis. I am so excited that you are here. I know that God meant for us to meet, and now here you are on my show. So, tell all of my listeners a little bit more about you.
Oh, welcome for that amazing introduction. I am Phyllis Thompson. I am a certified integrative nutritionist and a certified personal trainer. I started in fitness like most trainers, just wanting to get my own body right. And then along the way, I started interacting with women who were dealing with hormonal issues because most of us don't know that perimenopause symptoms will start 10 years before you even go into menopause. And for some women, that's as early as 35. That's the story behind why my messaging went from 40 and up to 35 because a lot of us, because our moms didn't talk about it, they just grin and bared it. Our aunts didn't talk about it, they just grin and bared it. And our grandmothers didn't talk about it. We assumed that's what hormonal change would look like. But the reality is you are in control of your body. God put all the resources we need on this planet to, in fact, hack our hormones and be in control. And what I do is basically guide women through that process and help them advocate for themselves with their primary care physicians. Yes. Unfortunately, they typically ignore what we're saying to them and want to write us a prescription. And the reality is, if we address the root causes with the natural resources God put on this planet, we can fix a lot of what's happening with us. And having the voice or finding your voice and knowing what to say so that you can stand up to these professionals. And you're in control of your body. Your health is in your hands. You do not have to settle for your results are normal or this is a normal part of the aging process. Not around here.
My goodness. Okay, I love that because here's the thing. First of all, we don't know what we don't know. So going back and hitting on what you said about like our mothers and grandmothers and our aunties and all, right? They may not have even known,
they didn't.
So they probably couldn't teach us what they didn't know or just said, yeah, this is just what it is. So right. The fact that there's so much out there. And the other part I love that you hit on, because as a woman who, they told me when I got married, like, hey, just relax. The babies are going to come, right? That didn't happen for me. And I had to tell my parents, just because we in this skin does not mean that we are immune to things. I could possibly have a medical condition, right? And so I had to go through IVF and praise God, they were successful, but things are so taboo. And so I think that is the other piece. And so I'm really excited to have you because you're telling me some stuff that I didn't think about. And, my daddy was just like, well, girl, when you turn 40, it'll all hit you. I'm like, what's going to hit me? Like, don't worry about it. You're so skinny. And I'm like, okay, but my mom didn't sit here and talk to me about this stuff. And I remember her doing like estrogen. So she was for hormones and stuff. So I think this is so imperative that we really get the word out. And for all of you listening, we can't share everything here in this amount of time that we have. Phyllis is a wealth of knowledge, so definitely reach out to her. We'll make sure you get all those contacts. But also, while you up there scrolling on the TikTok, I know because I be scrolling, but take your health and well-being, Google something, learn something. It's out there. But we're gonna get into some of this today since we do have
Right.
you to bend your ear. Um, and the other thing I want to point out is that Phyllis is also an amazing mom of four. Okay, so we aren't talking about stuff that, oh, we heard or we did, she went to school for this stuff. We're talking about stuff that we've lived. And so I really hope that you take a nugget or two from this conversation. So anything else before I
Absolutely.
start rapid fire
Well, I
questions?
wanted to touch on a couple of things. The fact that our parents, well, not just our parents, but like our mothers and our aunts and our grandmothers didn't talk about it.
Yeah.
And most of us have daughters or nieces that need to know. So it is time to take the stigma away from the natural aging process and start talking about it with these young women who will go through this at some point in their lives, and give them the permission to
Mm,
take control of your body, right? You are in control of your body, and it's time we start talking. That's the only thing that's going to take the stigma away, is if we start talking about it.
that's right.
And this is stuff that I use on myself. So, like, I don't want to get off topic, but like my husband died and I was dealing with the stress from that, and my hormones were jacked up from that. And there were symptoms I was experiencing that I never had before. But with
Mm,
the knowledge I had, I knew where to start. So, I mean, it's all about, you don't know what you don't know, right? But like you said, but the first place to start is, well, what symptoms am I having, right? What's not right? Because I know my body, and what I'm feeling right now is not right. And start there.
right. Yeah. And I have a friend who just recently went to the doctor, like this week went, and she's just like, something is not right. And they want to throw medicine at her. And she's like, "Eh, there's got to be another way." So I love this, right? Let's give ourselves permissions to, one, be educated, to go in there and have questions and be like, no, you need to answer this, and probably have some answers to be like, well, I did hear this. Put it back
Exactly.
on them, see what they know, right?
And that's what I tell my clients to do. So first of all, I give them the words because they don't know what to say, right?
Mhm.
And I'm like, so when they give you this pharmaceutical solution, what can we do this naturally? What would you suggest we do naturally? Unfortunately, most doctors spent one module on nutrition. So they don't know about a lot about it. And newer doctors know about it. But if you go to somebody old school, they're like, girl, just take this prescription. First of all, if I write you a prescription, you're guaranteed to have to come see me every 3 months because you're on that prescription. So now I've got you paying your copay and your insurance paying me every 3 months. Unfortunately, medicine has become more about money than
Yeah.
actually helping people be healthy and heal, because if you're healthy, you don't need me.
Right. And let us put this disclaimer out there. We are not against medicine. We are
Not at
just
all.
saying to
Advocate for
start,
yourself.
advocate for yourself, and let's have some other solutions. For example, and then we'll get into some of this. I had fibroids. I had two open myomectomies. And I remember my mom, like, I was in Birmingham, Alabama. She's still in Texas. So when I'm scared, I'm by myself. So every time I went to the doctor, she's on speakerphone. Like, I'm gonna need
Right.
you. She was in the medical field. I'm gonna need you. I had an advocate though, right? And so we ended up going medical to surgical. Like, I mean, at the end of the day, I had to have surgery, but we went through the steps, and my mom was very clear, like, we will do everything to preserve her body because she does want to be a mother one day. So we
Exactly.
have
And they
to
quick
have.
want to take our uterus. What is that? Why do you want to take my uterus? First of all, fibroids is a sign of estrogen dominance. So what a functional medicine doctor would have done is said, okay, let's test everything. Let's
Yeah,
see what's gone astray, and let's start working on a holistic way to approach it. And I do want to say I am not at all against medicine. As a matter of fact, I tell my clients, my patients, my clients to run any supplements I recommend, which are natural supplements, by their doctors. I try to make sure it is collective effort.
yeah,
But traditional medicine doctors typically are restricted because of insurances.
okay,
And some of them don't have the knowledge, right? There are the newer ones that are getting the menopause and perimenopause and nutrition training. but functional medicine doctors are all about healing the root cause. So I always recommend, if you're not getting what the answers you want from your primary, look into a functional medicine doctor and talk to them, because they're generally going to look at root cause instead
Mhm.
of, all right, so here, take this.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's so interesting because like you said, and I'm just kind of bridging the gap really quick, you know, I ended up having the myomectomy because the fibroids, right? That's the removal of fibroids. And so when I had my first one, I then found out that my cousin had had one. Why we ain't talking about this, right? Like,
Right.
why was that not a
We're
conversation, right?
embarrassed. We're embarrassed about it, but we
That's
shouldn't
crazy.
be. We
Right? And was
shouldn't.
that hereditary? Like, I don't know. We don't know what we don't know. And so then for me having and then bridging the gap is like me having two daughters and saying, okay, and I already asked my OBG, I'm like, hey, what do I need to be prepared for? Look, they are 3 and 7, but I'm still like, hey, what do I need to be aware of? Because these girls are starting to have cycles earlier and earlier. So I'm like, what do I need to know and what do I need to be aware of? So this is wonderful. Again, if this conversation is not specifically for you, I am sure there was someone that you know that it will fit for, or they have maybe their mothers are still here. They still may be experiencing
Right.
some things, right? Or themselves or their anybody around them. So
You want to have that conversation with your mother too, because, and the other women in your family that are older than you, because even if they didn't have the knowledge that we have now, which the majority of them didn't,
mhm,
they still have some insight on what your journey will look like. So you knowing that the fibroids is a hereditary thing gives you so much power, right? Because now you are entrusted with helping your daughters navigate the possibility of fibroids. And
right.
what I would invite you to take it a step further. Again, fibroids are typically a symptom of estrogen dominance. Well,
Okay.
let's think about the quality of the meat we eat on a daily basis that are pumped with bovine hormones. So if your chicken has been pumped with hormones and I'm feeding it to me and my daughters throughout the years of their development, this is stuff our mothers didn't know. So
Right.
could that be a contributing factor to this hereditary thyroid condition that could be a nutritional cause?
Uh well,
That
we
hurt.
gonna
That
try it
stung,
different.
didn't it? Didn't that sting?
We gonna try it different. Okay, look, I didn't receive it because let me tell y'all, look, Miss Phyllis has been on me about what I eat. Like I even told her I felt so proud of myself today. I did not go to the McDonald's and get what I wanted because I was starving after dropping off kids. And we had a little conversation and she is proud of me for like the progress. But there's so much. And that's why I don't believe in coincidences. And there are things that I know I'm going to learn from you. And I'm just excited about that. And then, yes, what do
Absolutely.
I do that my kids are looking at me? And then how do I help them? And like you said, in
Right.
these formative years. So this
Exactly.
is good.
Exactly.
This is good. So let me ask you the first question, okay?
Okay.
Because some of us mama bears out here with these young kids, even though we waited a while to have them, we still want to look like we got it, right? So
Right. Absolutely.
we still want to
And
believe
you
that
do look like you still got it.
well, I appreciate you, but sometimes when I look at this belly, I don't be feeling like I still got it, right? And my first question, and I think this will resonate with a lot of women, right? Because a lot of times our arms are okay, our legs are okay, but it's that belly. We're like so concerned about our belly. So, what are a few things? I said three, but what are a few things that are impacting this unwanted belly fat that we are experiencing as we are well, I'm gonna say 40 and up. I don't know if the 35 or the 30s are
And
having it, but
it counts for 35 and up. Excuse me, especially since 35 is only 5 years from 40. Your body is already starting to change. That's
oh,
usually around that age when we're like, man, I can't just eat what I want anymore, right? So a few things is, first of all, as we get older, our metabolism slows down. So if we have slower metabolism, we're going to have to get serious about making some dietary and lifestyle changes, right? And with the slower metabolism, it makes it easier for us to accumulate that visceral fat. So let's think about that for a second. We've
okay.
got a slower metabolism, right? Which is going to get slower every year we get older. And now we've got stress, right?
Mm,
Mamas and 35, 40 and up. And I'm telling you, the stress does not change. It doesn't get easier as they get older. It's what you're stressed about
don't
changes, right?
say that.
Right. So now we've got stress on top of that. And
Right.
stress elevates our cortisol level. Cortisol is our stress hormone, right?
Mhm.
What happens when our cortisol is elevated? It makes our body hold on to belly fat because cortisol likes to attach to that visceral fat, and we have it in an abundance in our bellies.
Oh
So,
my goodness.
managing that stress, right? Finding the ways to have fun. Fun is actually one of the best ways to
Okay.
help manage stress. Meditation is another really great one, and box breathing is one I have my clients use all the time. If you have
Okay.
a stressful job or a stressful life situation happening, step out of that for 5 minutes and do a box breathing exercise, right?
Mhm.
Another contributing factor, as I mentioned, is going to be those stress levels. So we have to make sure that we are paying attention to the signs of high stress. Some of us have a really high stress baseline, so we don't
Mhm.
even know. We're like, I'm not stressed, I feel good. Meanwhile, we can't
I've heard
sleep.
of it. Yeah.
We have anxiety. Those are signs of high stress. I'm craving salty and sugary. Those are signs of
Okay.
high stress. So look,
Mhm. Mhm.
I feel like something's connecting for you right there. And
Maybe just a little bit. Yes.
you
Yes. Yes.
probably
Yes.
have a very high stress baseline. So
Okay.
you probably don't feel like I'm overly stressed. Meanwhile, your body is having all the signs and signals that you're overly stressed.
And we've just learned to adapt, which is sad, right? Because either life or family, friends, or like you're looking, you're like, oh, we all got the same 24 hours. And I'm like, no, not really. Because if you got all these people to help you with your life, your 24 hours is structured a lot different than my 24 hours. So,
Exactly.
um, man,
But
yeah.
we
And
learn
I
to
can,
adapt because for women of color, some of us, the majority of us, that's what we saw. We saw our mothers like do
yeah,
what had to be done. Even
yeah,
our fathers, we saw them do what had to be done. We might complain and gripe a little bit, but it ain't like we ain't gonna do it,
right,
right?
right, right. Yeah. And then, and it's so interesting, right? So it's kind of back with the taboo of like, well, this is just how it has to be. And it's like,
It
but
doesn't.
does it?
It doesn't. I mean, if you think about so many of the ailments that plague, I'm going to go back to what I know. People of color, right? Heart disease, all these issues. And we're like, well, how do we fix that? Well, let's look at some of the ways that our families have just, they've been getting by, right? This
Yeah.
stressful life, all that stuff, they've been getting by and they've learned to adapt. But there's got to be a better way, a way that supports a better quality of life that we can then pass down to our children.
Yeah. And that's the hard part for me because it's like that fine line of like, I don't want to overly give them everything, right? Because I don't want them to not appreciate what they have. But at the same time, it's like, no, you should have a higher stepping stone than I
Right.
was provided, but trying to make sure, still pouring in all
Right.
the principles and morals and
Trying to
all of
help
that.
them stay grounded. I
Yeah.
mean, we can tell them what we want, but I say this all the time, and I learned this from my own experience. They watch us. They do what we say more
Absolutely.
than what we tell. They do what we do more than what we tell them to do.
You're right.
So, that I learned that from myself because, like, when I was gaining weight, my eating buddy was my youngest daughter, and to this day, she's 23 now, and she struggles with her weight because that's what she learned from me. So when I got into my health and fitness, she picked up some of it, but primarily Mickey will eat sugary, carby, and I try not to be on her about it
Yeah.
because I don't want her to have like this complex about her body. But I generally will say, well, this might be a healthier choice. So you have
Mm.
energy for work and you're not drinking energy drinks.
Oh,
You
yep.
know,
My other favorite thing. So yeah, I'm working on all of it. I'm gonna work on all of it. Don't judge me. I'm a
listen,
work in progress.
you made a step today.
I did.
Celebrate that. Perfection is a futile mission because
Yeah.
none of us are perfect. And that's just something to chase and make you feel bad about yourself. Celebrate the small wins because that builds self efficacy and makes you want to try even more.
You're right. You're right. You're right. You're right. And yeah, and the other thing with like my girls, like you say, they're watching us, right? So I have to even be mindful. So I talk about, our mindset and I talk about communication and I talk about systems and routines, right? And so with the communication, I'm like, even it starts with you. How are you communicating to yourself? What are
Right.
you telling yourself, right? So I'll find myself, my stomach or whatever and I'll be like, yeah, mommy's tummy is fat. Like I have to be mindful. I know, and it's because like for me, I'm saying it to
No, I
myself.
do not mean to condemn you for that. We all do that.
Right. But then it's like, what am I putting in their mind? So, and girl, this literally happened this morning because I was standing there and I'm waiting for my youngest to go to the bathroom and I'm like patting my stomach. And she's like, Mommy, what are you doing? And I was like, look at mommy's fat stomach. And then she goes, my stomach ain't fat. And I said, it is not. Right. And so it like clicked for me. Like, I have to be so mindful and like,
Right.
and I just want people to know, like, when I come out here on this show and this platform, I am just sharing what I've lived or something I know and bringing on people that can help us. Nobody is perfect, and like Phyllis said, like
Right.
we are being perfect, and like my sign says, perfect is boring, right? But
And it's
making
a futile mission because you ain't gonna ever get there.
never gonna get there. So yeah, but what are we pouring in? Not only like what are we doing, but what are we saying, and like what are we showing them?
Right,
Yeah,
right.
yeah,
And so to reframe that for her, um, I'm trying to think of a better way to do it. Oh, I wouldn't, I would say try to speak positively about your body around her. And if you ever are thinking about something you want to change, do it from to be a healthier perspective versus to lose weight, because then that puts that message that society has been
yeah,
driving into our heads that we're not good enough as we are, that you need to lose weight, you need to be thinner, you need to be prettier, you need to be taller, you need to have, all these things that they're already telling us we're not enough.
right.
So what I've been really focusing on in the last several years is when I talk about what I want to change about me, I try to do it from a perspective of I want to be healthy and live as long as possible.
Okay.
So I have years of negative talk about myself to undo that my daughters have witnessed.
Yeah.
So I'm working really hard to change that narrative for them so they're not always looking at themselves with criticism.
Yes, yes. And you're pouring it into other people to give them that. And we are never too old and probably not too young to start
Right.
feeding ourselves what we need to know.
Exactly.
All right.
Exactly.
So we are all about that belly fat. So yes, and we are very highly stressed, right? Okay. Tell me this. What is one takeaway that we can implement right now that would have long lasting impacts, right? Because we're so much into this microwave society. I want it now, or I'm going to take this pill, or I'm going to use this cream and it's
Right.
going to give me results like next week. What is something that we should start implementing that would have long lasting impacts?
So meditation is one because it will help reset that nervous system, especially if you're having stress issues. And meditation has been proven to help with brain degenerative disorders. Stress has been linked to degenerative disorders, and meditation has been proven to help counteract that. And then fiber. So quality fruits and vegetables, right?
Right.
And when I say quality, I preach organic over conventional because they're heavily sprayed with pesticides. And what pesticides do is block our estrogen receptors with fake estrogens, which could also contribute to fibroids because now you've got an excess of estrogen. So I saw you gulp. So quality fruits and vegetables, organic whenever you can. If it has a thick skin, you don't have to worry about organic. Quality proteins. And when I say quality, I mean you want to get no hormones if possible. It can be expensive, I know.
Yeah.
But you only get one body. So I say start small and slow. Sprouts is my favorite farmers market. They tend to have the better prices on um, organics. And I don't know, you're in Alabama. I don't know if you guys are near Kroger or
We have
King's
Kroger,
Super.
we have Sprouts, we
Oh,
have
nice.
Whole Foods, we
So,
have all of that. Yeah.
so people on the West don't have Kroger. They have, it's called King Supers. But what they will do is when something gets close to an expiration date, they will mark it down on a manager special. So look for your marked down organic meats and produce. Not necessarily produce, because if you go to Sprouts, they have the best prices of produce I've ever seen. And then quality proteins, fiber, fruits, vegetables, yes. And processed carbs is my next little, but start slow, right?
Okay.
So let me tell you about processed carbs. So they
Okay.
put soy in them and gluten. Did you
Okay.
know that? Soy
Mm,
will diminish. Yeah, start reading your boxes. Oh my God, you're gonna start throwing a lot of food away. So soy will diminish your thyroid function by 12% every time you consume it. And your thyroid
Every
regulates your
time you wait, I'm sorry, like every time 12%, then
every
am I in the
every
negative?
time, every time you eat it. Now, so and this affects women differently because we all have our own bio individuality. So some
Right.
women, they don't even know that that's the culprit, right? So if you take the soy out, because soy affects your thyroid by 12, it diminishes its function by 12%. Your thyroid regulates your metabolism, the rate at which your body burns energy, i.e., food. So
Okay.
you already got slow metabolism because we're aging. So I mean, if you're gonna do anything, I would go home and look at everything that has soy in it, read your boxes, and just toss it or give it away. Take it to the food pantry. You also want to take out gluten. I know, right? But baby steps. We can start with soy.
Okay, and the reason I'm looking so crazy, so if you're watching us, this will be on the YouTube channel. If you're watching us, if you're listening, we appreciate however you're listening to this or watching this. The reason why I was looking crazy is because I think it was last year, I had a head cold or something was going on. So I couldn't get into my primary. So they sent me to like a doc in the box, which is connected to them. And I go in, I'm like, yeah, I feel, I don't know, flu, something's going on, right? And they run a panel, they take blood, and they call me back and they're like, so your thyroid level looks a little funny or something with whatever. And I'm like, okay. So I go in, they test me. Like I had to go to a thyroid, I don't know, there's probably a fancy name for him, but a thyroid doctor. And I even had to do like one of those
Probably an
radioactive,
endocrinologist.
had to do all of that. Now, praise God, it came back where it was like, no, everything looks fine. But now that's something that they will be testing, to make sure. And
Right.
so I don't read labels, because I do a lot of not cooking at home. So I'm sure it's all over in everything that I eat. So that's very interesting. And the other thing I heard about gluten is that it, people that have kind of like gotten rid of it, they said like it cleared up their thinking.
Oh yeah.
There was like a mental
Gluten is toxic.
clarity.
Gluten is toxic. Your body, especially if you have a thyroid condition, just the fact that there was a little flag in that they thought there might be a condition. So I'm going to tell you, when they run your next panel, you want the full panel. And there's a series of tests. I'm going to send those to you to ask for, because just running TSH doesn't tell us the whole story. And actually, thyroid conditions are becoming more prevalent, and mainly women, because we have high stress. We take on the weight of the world. And that stress, along with hormonal change, can trigger a thyroid condition. So if we're just running your TSH levels and your TSH is fine, but actually the problem is that your T4 isn't being converted to active T3, that I know, I'm sorry, I'm getting
No,
sorry.
no, 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 because all this is starting to, I remember all of these things. I remember they're like, yeah, your T4, your T3, and something is
Right,
blocking something or not allowing
exactly.
something to
So there's
happen.
a
And
block. So they saw the blockage and then they told you, oh, your results are normal. What?
well, I mean, no, like I went through a whole series. Like I went to this doctor and they, like I said, I had to swallow that pill and they went and they like did some
Yeah.
x-ray and they looked at everything and they came back and they're like, no, it's fine. And it's so interesting because this week I've been having like, feels like an earache, but
Mm-hmm.
like a lot of mucus stuff. And so look, I was being a doctor, so I went to Google.
Dr. Google.
And I said to my husband, I said, "Oh, maybe it's my thyroid again." So anyway, note to self: let me go back to the doctor.
So another thing, if you notice like that congestion, or like
Yes.
even with a cough after eating something, that's a sign of a food sensitivity. Often a thyroid condition can be because of a food sensitivity. So there's several factors there, right? So now that you already have sort of a flag up to watch your thyroid, getting rid of soy and gluten would be the only steps I have you take right now. And then replacing, like, slowly replacing the quality of the proteins you're eating,
Yeah.
and switching to organic fruits and vegetables or produce whenever you can, because it is expensive.
Yeah.
But if we eat out less, and I'm not talking about you, I'm talking about us, period, people. If we eat out less,
Yeah.
then we have more control over what we're putting in our bodies, and we have more money to invest in the quality of our food, because we get one body, right? We
Yeah.
only get one.
Yeah. And so, and that was the thing, and I think because when we're so busy, right? We're just happy when we can eat a hot meal. Like when I say
Right.
us, like I'm thinking like busy moms, right? We're just excited to eat because a lot of times it's like, okay, well, let me pick this leftover from this kid's plate. And like we're not
Right.
eating, or we're not drinking our water because we don't want to stop and have to go to the bathroom when we're running around everywhere. But I think that this is so crucial because you're going to pay one way or another, right?
That
You're going
part.
to pay for the quality of your food and know what's
Right.
going into your body, or you're going to pay on the back end when you're having issues that may
Yeah.
come. So,
Yeah.
this is not to beat anyone up. We are not condemning anyone. We are really just giving helpful hints. So, hopefully, if you're noticing something, or like you said, like Phyllis, you're like, hey, if you're eating something and then you start seeing, feeling something or congestion, okay, that's a sign. And a lot of times we're going to overlook that. Oh, it's
Right,
allergies.
because we
Oh,
don't
it's whatever.
think, oh wait, it's connected to anything we eat. But yeah,
Yeah.
often those are just simple signs of your body saying, hey, I don't really like that thing.
That's not
You know,
good.
our food is supposed to make us feel energetic and light. The itis is not a goal. It is,
We ain't trying to pass out after we eat. Oh, okay.
it is not a goal.
But
It is not a goal.
I remember
So
telling my
if you're
dad.
even listening, so on your point about condemning anybody,
Yeah.
if you've been tuned in this far into it, kudos for you because something you heard made you pay attention. So that's a step in the right
Yes.
direction.
Absolutely, absolutely. Something I had said to my daddy, and he said he hadn't heard it. I'm like, yeah, most of us live to eat, instead of eating to live.
But what's
It's all a
funny
mindset.
about that is so, and I get this from my family often, but I love my food. I like the way it tastes. I like the way it makes me feel. So and that has actually been a perspective shift because I wasn't always this way. I wanted fried chicken. I wanted macaroni and cheese. I wanted greens. I wanted my mom's cakes on Sunday. I
And the
wanted
itis.
that. I wanted that. But then when I got into eating healthier and I was in it long enough to notice how good I felt,
Yeah.
I was like, listen, and to this day, and I said this to a friend the other day, I was like, I think I messed up my body because now when I eat anything that's like greasy or fried, I get sick.
Yep. Your body like, wait a minute, this is not what we're doing. And
Right,
that's a big thing. Like, change your life, change your mind, change your life. And that's
right,
why I always start with mindset. Like, how are you looking at it? What is your viewpoint? Are you taking it as like, oh, this is a punishment? Or are you taking it as like, no, this is going to give me what I need to be able
right.
to live the life I really want?
Think about it like this, right? So there are so many amazing fruits and vegetables from around the world
Hmm.
that you can get to experience instead of the same old mashed potatoes, gravy, whatever your staple food is that you already know because you look at it sometimes and be like, I don't need to be eating this. But like, think about this. So when I travel, me getting to I love seafood. Me getting to have like an amazing piece of fish with like a mango salsa or making that at home for myself,
Right.
right?
Right.
With a nice veggie, some sauteed asparagus, and sometimes I'll eat a grain, not really all the time. That's a good meal, but I'm happy with that.
Right.
Or some wild caught shrimp over some risotto with sauteed spinach. Like, listen, that's delicious. I'm happy with that.
Right. And that's beautiful, right? And I know that my mother-in-law, that's how she showed love, was through her cooking.
That's
So
how most
again, yeah.
learned how to show love, especially women of color, because
Yeah,
our mothers did it.
you're right. That's what they could give. Okay. I love it. I love it. I love it. Okay, let me ask you this. How much exercise do we really need starting at 35?
So, um, obviously, the American Heart Association has their recommendations. I say a minimum 3 days a week, and I'm not the American Heart Association. However, however, and it doesn't have to be exercise. What
Okay.
do you enjoy? Right?
Hmm.
So some people don't like the word exercise. They're like, I ain't working out. I actually have a client who gives me a really hard time about working out. So I was like, okay, what do you enjoy? She's like, I like riding my bike. Go ride your bike. You're getting your heart rate up. You're breaking a sweat. That's really what it comes down to. So I say 3 days a week. Cardio, strength training, a combination of the two.
Hmm.
If you are doing hit workouts. Like a lot of women in their 40s will start doing hit because they think that's what's going to get the weight off. If you notice that your weight has been stalled for 6 months to a year and you've been doing dedicated 3 to 4 days of hit, your
Hmm.
body is telling you, I am overstressed and I need you
Mm.
to low impact. So that's why I don't like to give blanket workout recommendations, because if you're high stress and you're doing HIIT workouts, it's going to work against you and you actually
Mm,
need low impact. So that's something to consider. But I love doing, I generally work out 5 days a week, but I love working out. So anywhere between 3 and 5 is a good place for
okay.
you to start.
Okay.
6 and 7 days is unnecessary.
Okay.
Because of, okay, so another thing, working out, even though it's good for you, your body, your heart, it builds inflammation in the body. So if
Yeah.
you're working out 7 days a week, you're not giving your body time to rest and reset. So
Yeah.
that inflammation, and then you're like, why am I not losing weight? Well, because you're over inflaming your body.
Right. 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 No. So I've been trying. I got to get back on it, but I typically try to do Monday through Friday, and at least like 30 minutes. Right. I don't like.
And that's
It's,
perfect.
yeah. So I just want to do something, and then I like switch it up. Um, so I'll switch it up. So like sometimes I'll do bar for a little bit. I finally tried doing Pilates a little bit, which threw me for a curve. I guess in my mind I thought I was doing yoga or something. That Pilates will get you together, okay? So
It's hard, but it's great for the core.
oh my gosh, I was like, wait a minute. I don't think my leg will stay there. But for me also, when you said low impact, my knees at 43, that
Right.
ain't like, I have to do things that are going to be beneficial. So I think the biggest thing for anyone listening, like, find something you love,
Yes.
and that way you stick with it. And also, when you get started, start slow. That would be my advice. Like, start slow, because guess what, your
Big
body is like,
stars,
I'm
no.
gonna be moving, and you are going to be sore. That does not mean that you're hurt.
Right.
All right, so we're going to do this together. We're going to move
Yeah.
our bodies. So it's not just what we're putting in our bodies. It's not just about moving our bodies, but definitely our mindset too. Because like with the
Yeah.
stress, and
And
everything. So
then
it's
on the mindset piece, like mindful eating is another really great practice, right? So many of us grew up with clean your plate when,
make a happy plate before you put
right,
your food in
clean
a
your
drink.
plate. Well, how much food is on that plate? Um,
Hmm.
and honestly, I can't remember the quote, and it comes from, I think, Chinese medicine, that first of all, you're supposed to eat slow so that your body, your brain has time to receive the signal from your belly or your stomach that you're
It's
full. So overeating is another thing that causes the itis, and it's bad for your digestion. And then
mm-hmm.
there was something you mentioned that I wanted to comment on. You were talking about eating a little pieces off of your kid's plate and running ragged and all that stuff.
Yeah.
Going back to what are we teaching our children,
Mm-hmm.
right? So, if how do you look when you're running ragged? Like, do you look ragged? Because that's what you're teaching your kids. That's success. She busy, right?
No,
She's
because actually my kids be like, "Mommy, you work all the time."
right.
Or they look at me and they're like, "Mommy, are you tired? Are you okay?"
They're like,
Or like,
she's tired.
we pass Starbucks in Langston. My son is like, "Mommy, do you need coffee?" Like, it's crazy. Like, again, what they watch us do, and I'm
They
like,
pick
"No, not
up
today,
on
baby."
they pick up on it. So if possible, and I know this can be hard if you're like a single mother, because I've
Mhm.
been there and done that, and it's hard as hell trying to be all things to everybody. But
Right.
can you carve out 5 minutes to sit down with your kids and eat with them instead of
Mhm.
picking off their plate and doing 100 different things? Because what it's showing them is you prioritize slowing down too and
Yeah.
taking care of yourself and spending that time with them.
That's good. That's good. That's good. Yeah. And it's interesting because something that I've started doing since we went to our conference, I was like on the plane writing out things, right? And so now in the morning, like 5 to 6:30, that's Jada's time. Like, get up, get your, like, if you want to work out, work out. If you want to go get with Jesus, go get with Jesus. Like, whatever you're doing, set the tone for the day. And then 6:30, I'm getting them up to get them ready for school and breakfast and all the things. And now I put my do not disturb on. So me getting them up and getting us to school, it's like our time to like play music and just
Exactly.
be, right? Because they will remember that, right? Or they're
They
gonna remember,
really
why
will.
are you always on the
And
phone?
that getting up earlier so that you have that time for yourself is so important. I'm telling you, when somebody messes with my morning time, I get mad.
Because you
It
ain't gonna
used
get
to
no
be,
time the rest of the day, most likely, right?
it used to be that I would wake up really, I used to wake up at like 5 a.m. And when my husband got up during my morning time early, because he was a late sleeper, I'd be like, why is he up? And I'm so annoyed.
But why, Jesus?
He'll walk into the office. I'd be like,
It is not your time yet. Right. But it's so important. And the thing is, like, so I have a friend in terms of working out. She's like, I just can't get up and work out in the morning. So we're just tossing out ideas. Like, I'm saying what works for me. Do I necessarily want to get up in the mornings? Maybe not. But I know that the rest of the day is going to be
Right.
nonstop. So where do you find that time for yourself? And maybe that's at the end of the night, right? But me, I'm passing out, going to sleep as I'm
Right.
putting them to sleep, which we talked about that too. We're gonna work on that, right? But find what works for you, even if it's like you said, the small increments during the day.
Right.
Like take 5 minutes here, take 15 minutes. Like you may not smoke, but take your 15-minute smoke break and
Exactly.
reset yourself.
Exactly. So finding what works for you too, I want to say about that is there's a couple of things.
Hmm.
So do a time audit. Do you have 30 minutes? Because like you mentioned, your workout's 30 minutes. 30 to 45 minutes is plenty. An hour, hour and a half, unnecessary. Your body is not even responding any extra to that extra time unless your nutrition is dialed in. But that's a whole different subject. So because I work from home, what I used to do is I would unplug my laptop, and when she started to die, that meant all right, it's time for her to recharge and time for me to recharge. So
Okay.
let me get my 30-minute workout in, right? So if there's 30 minutes in the middle of your day, plan your day around that. Put you on your calendar. If you use a Google
Yes.
Calendar, find 30 minutes 3 days a week.
Yes.
And if you've never tried to get up earlier to work out, let me tell you, until you've tried it and you know you don't like it, you never know how much you'll like it. I loved my early AM workouts when I started doing that because I would have energy all day. It was my quiet time because the kids were still asleep and I could do me the rest of the day.
Yep. Yep.
So until
And
you
so
tried it, don't say you can't do it.
that is so true. That is so true. And there's times where I have been up early to work out and I'll work out inside the house because, like, either I know my husband is not going to be paying attention to these kids or maybe it's a little bit later. I got a later start. So it was something I could still do in the house. And I would be in the middle of the workout, Phyllis, and I'm like, oh, I'm so glad I'm doing this now because I don't want
Right.
to do this later.
Right.
Or I've had my girl twin wake up and she over there working out with mama. You know what I'm saying? So we just
Okay.
have to
I
make
look
sure.
at the message you're sending her to take care of yourself, right?
Yep.
So that was one of the things I was going to say. When my youngest daughter was a baby, we had a jogging stroller
Mm,
and we lived in a subdivision that I could take the twins with me because they were four. And I'd be like, all right, we're going on this side of the subdivision where there ain't no cars and we're going to be jogging. So if you come in with mommy, know you're going to be jogging. They got all kinds of energy. They 4 years old. So we all out there together. So you can actually make it a family thing. It doesn't have to be, oh, I can't do it where the kids are around. Sometimes they're having so much fun just being with you.
yep.
When I used to teach fitness classes online, one of my clients, all of her kids would be in the room with her doing the
Yes.
workout. And I used to die laughing, but I loved it. And she was like, this is the only way I can do it. Show up the way you got to show up.
Show up and do it for you.
Yeah.
Because when you do it for you, it's going to trickle down to everybody and everything else anyway.
Trust
So
me. And they do that workout, they're going to fall asleep early.
that part, look, I probably need to bring them home at night and get them out there in that yard. Like, it's so funny. I was like, I'm not really an outdoors kind of girl. I played soccer, but playing soccer, I'm not thinking about the running and the being sweaty. I'm playing, right? But as I
Right.
get older, I'm like, I don't want to go outside. And when I tell you all my kids like to be outside, I'm like, all right, we about to get y'all good and tired. Come in, eat, take a bath, eat, and go pass out. So yes, that is
Right.
definitely.
And you're like, oh my God, they're down. Whew.
What do I do? Yes. Well, there you go, busy mamas. It's okay, and you should incorporate them. We're not saying all the time, but we're saying don't allow that to be the reason that you're not.
Right.
Don't let
Right.
it be the reason that you're not. Okay, let me see what else I have on here. Let me ask you this because we're almost at 45 minutes. It's such a good discussion. Let me ask you this. Um, what vitamins or supplements, especially something I guess that we could get over the counter, would along with like quality meats and the quality foods and all of
Take
that
it
we can
slow. You don't
have?
have to do it all
Right.
today.
But what is a good over the counter? I don't know if it's a multivitamin or a
Right.
supplement. Which is there anything that you would suggest that we look into?
Absolutely.
Okay.
First of all, when it comes to supplements, they are not regulated. I can create a supplement and say, oh, it does this, this, and this, right? So third party certified. Costco, unless it's third party certified. Walmart, unless it's third party certified, you're just making expensive pee. So the bargain brands are bargain for a reason.
Okay.
So look on the label. If they have third party certification, they want to brag about that because they pay for it and people are looking for it. So three supplements all women should be taking is an omega-3 fish oil. So if you're in your 30s and you're starting to feel moodiness, those omega-3s are going to help with that, right?
Hmm.
Um, the a quality multivitamin, right? Third party certified is going to hit all the points that you need. It's going to have all the B vitamins in it. It's going to have iron. It's going to have selenium and iodine for the thyroid function because you know that's the thing as we get older, and often it's undiagnosed. So had to throw that in there. And then a probiotic, right? If you're always gassy and bloated, something's going on with your gut microbiome. So a quality probiotic is crucial for you to look into. Do your research. I like Garden of Life. They make one for women, but it has all of the things that your gut needs. And there's gut healthy foods you can eat too, right? Fermented foods, things like that. So those are the three things I would focus on now.
Cool. Cool, cool, cool. Well, I know I have learned a lot. I know that there are some changes that I can definitely and will be implementing and checking in with you to let you know how that's working out for me. I hope that as y'all are listening, especially if you're still here, like Phyllis said, if you're still here,
Right.
we appreciate
Something
you.
stuck out to you and you're like, let me listen. And you don't have to do everything today. Pick one or
Yeah,
two things to work on. And that's it.
that's it. That's it. That's all. And then just keep adding. And
Right.
Phyllis is going to give us all of her points of contact to reach out to her. She's clearly, you can hear and you can see if you're watching us that she has a wealth of knowledge. This is something that she's not only like reading a book and telling us, but stuff that she's lived.
Right.
And I am just so excited. Thank you for,
Absolutely.
being willing to be here and to share, not only with me, but with all of the listeners. And yeah, y'all, this is part of our self love and our self care, and it's not selfish. And, a reason why, like my parents, like you said, you lost your husband, and it changes you, right? Like, you start looking at things a little differently. And, like, for me, I lost my parents 33 days apart back in 2021, and just watching them with the rapid decline of how it all happened, which they had underlying conditions, and then they got COVID. And so that just
Yeah,
helped to speed it along, right? But watching that and seeing that, it made me say, you know what, I have to do better. Not only for me, or not only for my babies, I would say, but for me and like future Jada and that quality of life. So, what are the things that you, me, everyone listening or watching, what are the things that we're doing now to put those deposits in for our future selves?
exactly.
And
Exactly.
that would be my key takeaway for everyone. And I'm going to start doing that because I know one of these three and probably the girl twin going to try to put me in a home. So I'm going to need to be.
I know. I got one of those. She was like, I'm gonna put you in a home. I said, as long as it's nice and by the water, I don't care.
But for the longest, I'm going to try to make sure this mind is right, this body is right, my spirit is right, my soul is
Exactly.
right. Okay.
Exactly. And for a full list of foods and supplements that you should be incorporating that you can take a step at a time, I'll walk you through one or two things in each chapter to take away to help you hack your hormones, hack your energy, hack your sleep, and live your best life and age for longevity. In my book, Hack Your Hormones for Weight Loss, available on Amazon and Amazon Kindle. So, yeah, there you go.
Get it, because again, this is an investment into you, and we'll make sure y'all have those titles because my girl Phyllis, we talking kind of fast, so we're gonna get all of that. It's all good. I just want to make sure that they get it and they have it, because even though we're laughing and we're having a good time, this is serious.
Yeah,
And the time is now to go ahead and make those investments in those deposits. And so now that we have, and look, and now that you know better, you should do better. Okay.
exactly. Exactly.
All right, ma'am. Well, thank you so much for being here. I
For
appreciate
having me.
you.
I had a great time. If the time
Good.
flew by.
It flies. It flies. And for all of you, again, watching, listening, I appreciate you. I'm going to say it all the time. I'm so grateful that you're here, allowing me the space to come and to share what's on my mind, my heart. And to pour into you. So till next time, stay blessed and start getting after one or two things to invest in yourself. All right, y'all.
Ciao.